Excellent!
What's up guys, welcome back. This is my monthly builds video for March 2020, and I always start these videos off the same way by telling you first that today we're going over parts lists. I'm not actually building any systems. If you want to see me actually putting systems together, check out my builds playlist. I'll link that in the description. And I also have an extensive how to build a PC series that I will also link in the description. Check out that playlist if you want step-by-step instructions for how to put one of these systems together. The entire goal of this series is to help you guys choose the right parts for your system, because you can't build a computer until you've picked the parts to build it with, and everyone wants to get that ideal mix of bang for the buck as well as custom selected parts that work for your use case. To that end, I always do a straw poll to ask you guys what you want to see next month, and here's where I'm going to sort of start to change things up a little bit this month, because I think I'm going to be doing some slight tweaks and adjustments to the format of this series. For one, the top result here is more AM4 based systems, and if you're looking at the PC landscape right now, AM4 based systems are the way to go, but there's not a whole lot new going on there. I guess there's a little bit new, but I'll get to that in a minute. There was a close follow-up for a content creation or audio mixing build, and I'm actually going to be putting that off, I think probably until next month, because I want to spend a little bit more time selecting some proper parts for that. Also had an ideal 3950X build requested, which is also an AM4 based system, so I am kind of doing that this month. But look at my straw poll for April. I am looking for suggestions and feedback for the future of the monthly builds video series, and remember you can choose multiple items here. For one, I always catch some flack because I call this monthly builds, but I'm actually not building any systems, and that's understandable. That's usually why I start the video out with a bit of a disclaimer, but it would be nice to not have to do that. So I'm looking for perhaps a different name change, and then I might also be updating the format of this a little bit more as well. So at the top you have some suggestions here for changing the name but keeping the content the same, or updating the format, or keeping everything the same. If you guys do have any name suggestions for a series like this, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below. And then I have some options here for how I might slightly tweak the format in the future. For example, fan submitted parts lists. I get those sent to me on Twitter and elsewhere all the time. I could take the fan submitted parts lists, go over them, critique them, tweak them here and there to optimize them, and then present them to you guys as viable parts lists. I think that would be reasonable. This option here of me building parts lists from the ground up is pretty much what I do right now. I could also do parts recommendations by category. So I could say, here's the CPUs I'd recommend, or the GPUs I'd recommend, instead of full system builds, or perhaps a mix of all of those things. So I greatly value the feedback that you guys provide. If you guys want to vote on that straw poll down below, please go ahead and do that. In the meantime, I'm going to go over my parts list for this month, and part of the reason I decided I think I want to sort of tweak things in the future is these parts lists are all slight variations of the parts lists I did back in December. In December, I was talking about a 3950X that was really difficult to find at retail. Fortunately, that has changed and it's now readily available for the list retail price of $750. And the other build was a super budget AMD Ryzen 3000G based system, which can also be somewhat more difficult to find. I have updated those parts lists, but let's get right into it with this first build, which is a $500 PC. And when I've done $500 PCs in the past, usually they've been entry level and used APUs, like the 3000G, or the 2400G, or the 3400G, which is AMD's CPU plus GPU in the same unit, and you can get away without getting a discrete graphics card in that case. But now I have an actual full system because we have the Ryzen 5 1600AF. So this is a first gen Ryzen, but it's kind of like a second gen Ryzen because it's 12 nanometer based, and it's only $85 for a 6-core 12-thread processor. It's only the processor though. You need a graphics card, so I've added a Radeon RX 570 down here, which you can get for 120 bucks. The remainder of the parts are by and large the same as the system I did back in December. So total price here though, $500.93 after mail-in rebates. So that's a pretty screaming deal to get you up and off the ground with a full system with a discrete graphics card. So the motherboard, once again, B450 Aorus M. I've already used this motherboard. It's a solid all-around entry-level motherboard. It's got your M.2 slot. It's got an extra expansion slot down at the bottom because it's micro ATX. I've already also purchased and installed this memory, the Team T-Force Vulcan Z 16 gig kit. It's DDR4 3200 and it runs at 3200 speed with AMD Ryzen. So that's pretty cool. Only $73 for that kit. Storage is always going to be something that you got to make a decision on from the get-go because you need at least one storage drive for your operating system, and you can get away with a 240 gig class drive, and you can find that for $35 to $40. Keep in mind, for $15 to $25 more than this, you can get even this ADATA SU635 in the larger capacity 480 And it's only about 20 bucks more. So maybe consider doing that if you've got the extra cash. Starting off with a little bit extra storage space on your main SSD is not bad at all. That said, you can easily add more storage to any system. That's why I haven't included more storage in this parts list. If you have an old hard drive lying around that you can reformat and use as supplemental storage, or SSD prices are pretty reasonable right now, so feel free to grab more SSDs and drop them in there. They cost more money though. For graphics card, we need one. We won't be able to have video outs without it, and I wanted to keep the cost down because this is an entry-level system. $120 I think is a reasonable price for an entry-level discrete graphics card. There's other options that are cheaper, but they're really very cut down. This is an RX 570, which is a last-gen graphics card, but you can't beat that price, and I guess you can get an additional $10 off with a promo code right now, so that's cool. It has a 4 gig frame buffer. It's got plenty of video outs for multiple monitors. I think the next step up from this graphics card would be an RX 590, but that's about $40 to $50 more. Beyond that, maybe an AMD GTX 1600, but that's closer to $200. So trying to stick to the budget, $500, I think that's a good solution. I've gone with the same case, Thermaltake Versa H18. If you want a micro ATX case, if you want it to have plenty of airflow, chips with a single fan, this is a good option, and it's only $55 readily available at Amazon. I liked this case building in it. It is a budget case, so there are some things in it that stand out as like, okay, this is a budget case, but it's gonna get the job done. And the only thing I would say is if you're lacking airflow, or if you are adding more hardware like a discrete graphics card, you might consider purchasing one more fan. It ships with one rear exhaust fan, but you can add 1 or 2 more at the front to help improve your airflow and keep system temperatures down. Finally, you need a power supply. For that, I went with the EVGA BR600. This is a bare bones power supply, but it's 80 plus bronze rated, so good power efficiency rating. Not modular or anything like that, but the cables are all black, so they're not gonna stand out and look ugly or anything like that. And hey, for $46 after a mail-in rebate, that's a solid price. So $500 for all that together to get yourself a functional gaming PC, I think is a screaming deal. And of course, as I've said before, plenty of upgrade paths available there too. You could upgrade the graphics card, you could upgrade your processor to something a little bit better. But if you're comparing that Ryzen 1600 AF series to, for example, one of their APUs, you're gonna get a lot more CPU performance out of the gate as well. So it's really cool that that's available for only $85 and that you can actually buy it now. Speaking of things you can actually buy now, my next build is the Ryzen 3950X build. This is coming in, it's actually just under $2,300, $2,273.82, according to PC Part Picker. And again, if you're looking at this parts list and you're comparing it to my December video, you're gonna see a lot of similarities. I've only swapped out a couple parts here and there. But the cool thing is I'm not saying the 3950X if you can find it, I'm saying, hey, if you need a 16-core, 32-thread processor, this is a beast of a CPU. It's 750 bucks right out of the gate, but you can actually buy it. It's available at B&H, Amazon, plenty of places, in stock, add to cart, check out, you're good. You do need a cooler with the 3950X. It doesn't ship with one, and for my money right now, you can go with a liquid cooler, but for about $100, I think an air cooler is gonna give you a little bit more peace of mind. This is a really, really good cooler, so it will handle the 16-core processor no problem. It's got that nice black finish, so it's gonna look good too, and it's going to remove the potential failure points that you would get with something like an all-in-one liquid cooler, where you have the potential for the pump to die or other things to go wrong over time. When it comes to me recommending stuff for you guys versus me building lots of fun stuff here in the studio, where I do dabble with a lot of water cooling, sticking to air cooling, I think, is probably the best bet. For a motherboard, I wanted a higher end motherboard without creeping up into the $300, $400, $500 plus range, and for that we've got the ASRock X570 Tai-Chi. It's got all the nice features that you would want, like surface mounted power and reset buttons, a debug LED, it's got that front USB 3.2 Gen 2 port, RGB lighting, of course. It's got a nice design overall. It's got a fixed I/O shield and built-in Wi-Fi and plenty of positive feedback from lots of people anyway. So, oh, it's also got a backplate, which, you know, nice feature there for a motherboard that costs just shy of $300 right now, $290. Granted, there are X570 motherboards that you could get away with that are cheaper than this, but you're building a 3950X based system. I think it deserves just a little bit extra. Speaking of extra, I usually go with a 16 gig memory kit solution, but again, for the 3950X, bump that up a little bit to a 32 gig kit. The Trident Z Neo kits are pretty much guaranteed to run at their rated speed with Ryzen processors, DDR4 3600 being the sweet spot for that, and they only cost, I don't know, $40, $50, $60 more than a comparable kit. But again, you get that peace of mind, and I will say that the Trident Z Neo kits, this isn't the best resolution picture of one, but they look pretty cool as well. And they've got RGB lighting on top, which of course makes everything faster. For an SSD, a 1 terabyte I think is your starting out point if you've got a 3950X. Yes, you could get away with less than this, but $100 for a nice, fast NVMe SSD, the Crucial P1 is a really good one, so go ahead and gobble that one up too. For a graphics card, I would say, you know, drop an RTX 2080 Ti in there, and that would be totally legitimate, and you could totally do that, but that's probably gonna cost you $1,200. For roughly half of that, you can get the RTX 2080 Super 8 gig, very solid card. For my recommendation here on PC Part Picker, I just used the parametric filter, so it's going with the cheapest RTX 2080 Super. That said, the Black Gaming Edition from EVGA is a really good card. 2-fan cooler, nice sizable heatsink on there as well. So at the promo code and everything, bringing it down to close to $650, solid deal there for an RTX 2080 Super. We need a case. The Cooler Master Mastercase H500 is very well reviewed, good airflow. Cooler Master fixed a lot of the stuff that was initially wrong with the earlier versions of this case. I like the flexibility of stuff like these drive cages that it has. 2 massive 200mm RGB fans that it ships with are really nice too. Lots of airflow, plenty of mesh at the front of the case as well to let the air in. It has an exhaust fan at the back, so you're pretty much set up for your fans right from the get-go. Good looking case too, and Amazon has it right now for $105. Finally, for a power supply, again, because it's a 3950X build, you want to go with maybe just a little bit extra, so I went for 80 plus gold rather than bronze units, and EVGA Supernova 750G Plus gets the job done. Fully modular. It's got nice, again, all black cables, so it's going to blend in and not stand out. And since it is fully modular, if you were going above and beyond with this build in the future, you could do something like completely custom sleeve cables where you do replacements of the existing cables. So nice to have that flexibility there. Power supply prices are a little bit higher than they used to be, but not too terrible, and you can get this one for a little less than $100. And guys, that's going to do it for this, I won't say final version of my monthly builds series, but the final version in its current shape and form. Again, I'd really love to hear your feedback on these straw polls down below, as well as in the comment section. Any suggestions you have for me optimizing this series, making it more useful for you guys, maybe even presenting you with more parts lists. If you guys are submitting parts lists and I'm critiquing them, I might be able to do 3 or 4 instead of the 1 or 2 that I typically do. All that said, closing notes, if you guys want to check out my store and support my channel by getting yourself some merch like t-shirts, that link is down in the description, pulsehardware.net. And of course, if you want to hit the like button and maybe subscribe to my channel for future videos, that is also an awesome thing to do. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.